Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Hope everyone's doing very well. Welcome back to Spurs Related. As you can see, I'm back alongside Jonny H himself, talking Tottenham 1882. And we're going to go through a few of the transfer updates. There may be a few, there may be, well, not many, but all the links and all the rumours that are going around at the moment, as well as potentially a young signing yet again. We've also already had Kota Takai, but it looks like we've got another youth prospect coming through the door, which we'll get into as well. But starting things off, Jonny, how you doing, mate? How's your Friday?
All good, mate. All good. I think our Fabrizio Romano now for Spurs is here we've gone. Here we've gone, right? As some of the Spurs fan base, here we've gone into meltdown. Maybe, here we've gone backwards. I think, look, it's early doors, James, but you can understand the blowback and the frustration and the annoyance of something which hasn't even been substantiated yet, because as we all know in transfers, until the shirt's being held up, it means absolutely nothing.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Absolutely. And I pick up on your point about, meltdowns. There's been some talks about Eze potentially being linked with Arsenal today, whether that's tier 1 or not. I'll let you guys decide. We certainly don't have that down as a tier 1 source. And let's just be honest here, Jonny. I feel like a lot of the Spurs community are almost acting like Eberechi Eze is a Tottenham player and it's just a matter of time. Well, even if he is linked with Arsenal, even if he's linked with, other big clubs, that doesn't mean that we should all have a meltdown should we not sign him. However, Jonny, would you think it's fair to say we need to start doing something from next week when the turn of the financial FFP comes in and clubs are a bit more likely to sign players?
I think the problem is the club, having bought in Frank, are a bit hamstrung in the sense that they really don't know. I mean, who Frank is going to say yes or no. It's that Caesar moment where they're all going to be performing like seals, and he's going to go like this, or he's going to go like this, or he's going to go like that, right? And the problem here is, because of that, how can the club move into the market without knowing exactly who he wants rid of? Knowing Thomas Frank, though, he would have a dossier, because he has a dossier of every single player and every single team from his time at Brentford. Who's good, who's not good, who to watch out for, strengths, weaknesses. So I think he'll be able to sort of rely on that. Him and Cochrane will look at that and say, well, you know what? We definitely like the look of him. He will suit us. This one won't suit us. Someone like Richarlison, who most people think would leave, I actually personally think that he will like Richarlison because he's a grafter, works his backside off, and he's aggressive, and he give his all. And he's got a lot to prove, let's be honest. So those sort of players, I think, will be the type of players Frank will take in. The ability to work hard, listen. So there lies the problem. How do you know who is going to go? Unless you've got someone that says, I'm 100% going, like Sonny. But I don't think Levy will be fussed either way. I think Levy will be quite happy if Sonny sits on the bench for another year, quite honestly, and he does another £30 million worth of shirt sales. Judging by the fact,
it's looking likely, isn't it?
Judging by the fact that he's front and centre in the selling of the shirts, I would say that is likely. Although I think most Spurs fans, as much as we love Sonny for all he's done over the last, few years, it comes a time where it's time to walk away with your head held high on a high, and not be like some washed out boxer who takes one fight too many and ends up sort of punch drunk and fades into the sunset. A bit like Hugo Lloris, who should have sailed off earlier than he did. So we shall see. But I think I feel like that's a reason. I'm not going to give Levy the excuse, though. I mean, I'm not giving him any excuse. I'm just saying maybe that is the reason. But it doesn't stop you signing a top draw player like an Mbeumo, an Eze, or a Simmons.
Correct.
And so I'm not going to let them away with it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Johnny. We need to act quick, in my opinion. Because for me, I think Alistair Gold mentioned in one of his articles around a week or so ago that Thomas Frank would be looking to bring in at least 2 or 3 before preseason starts, and we're talking preseason starting in about 3 weeks' time. I mean,
well, he has. He has. Well, he has, hasn't he? It's just the technicality, the fact that one's a 16-year-old kid. One's a 21-year-old Japanese guy who we don't know much about, and one is Matthias Tell.
But 3 actual signings, 3.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
First team signings. Toxic Headshots in here. Big up, mate. It's been a little while. Hope you're doing very well, mate. You said Eze meltdown is silly. Simmons and Kudus are better players for us. We need goal scorers and runners. He's also said first we need to replace replacements for Madison, Kulu, and Solanke. What do you think of that, Johnny? That's a bit of a one to stir things up again with.
Listen, I don't look. Madison is never going to play the full Champions League, Premier League, Cup games. Not a chance, right? So we need backup. Sorry, I don't use the word backup normally. That's a bad mistake. Backups are forbidden. It's a squad game. You need competition. You need competition for all spaces. There is nothing wrong with having competition for all places. That's how it should be. Look, people say, well, where's Eze going to fit in the Arsenal midfield? You know, they've got Marino, they've got Rice, they've got Odegaard, they've got Zubamendi, they've got Norgard, right? Yeah. Where are all these players going to fit? The truth of the matter is, you have something called injuries, multiple competitions, and
we know about them, mate. We know about injuries last season.
Correct. So ultimately, I believe you need strength in depth, and that means competition for all places.
Correct.
I don't see Man City fans complaining, oh, we bought another bloody midfielder. Where are we going to put them all? Or Liverpool, like we keep buying players. The fact that we got 9 centre-backs and about 9 wingers is neither here or there. It's what it is the quality of those players, and do we have strength in depth? I think we can all agree right now that our attack is not good enough. It's not Champions League ready. Definitely and that's why we need someone of Eze's ability. I mean, I hear people say, James, Xavi Simmons, right? Good player. We've got absolutely no idea whether he can come into the Premier League and perform in this level. None.
Absolutely no one knows. None. Could be Janssen, but in a 10 version.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. You know, I prefer, if possible, to go Prem proven.
Yeah, I see what you say. Yeah, I agree. I think there needs to be a balance, though. I think there needs to be a mix of signings from foreign leagues and signings that are almost more of a dead cert and less of a gamble. I think there needs to be a balance. But I think at the moment, mate, we're not even going down either of those alleys. We're going down, the secondary school alley. But we'll get into that in a minute. Listen, Aaron's saying so was Kane before he left. Martin's in here. Martin, appreciate your support lately. He's saying Tottenham needs to get Jonathan David on a free ASAP. He can play across all the front 3. You saying facts, Johnny?
Yeah, big. Listen, Jonathan David, left foot, right foot, absolute goal machine. Been a fan for him for probably the last 2.5 years. I thought this was an ideal player for Spurs to go for. He scores at every level, whether it be, people say, oh, he's Canadian international. What is that? Look at his stats. Look at his stats at Lille. Look at his stats in the Champions League, Europa League, Cup games. He's a goal machine. As I said, left foot, right foot. When you're a defender and you're trying to force a player, you try to force him onto his weaker foot. But when he doesn't have a weaker foot as such, he's a danger. Look, the thing is, the agent's looking for around about 10 million in agent's fees, and he wants 15 million and about 250 grand a week. But listen, in the scheme of things, it still comes out pretty cheap. And, Napoli are looking at him.
Newcastle, apparently.
Newcastle. Yeah. I mean, he's great for Newcastle. I mean, can you imagine him, Jonathan David and Isak, with Eberechi and Joel Linton and Stoll, Jacob Murphy.
Top 4 for sure, in my opinion, Newcastle next season. But we'll get into predictions on the Premier League next season as we go into the stream. But Jonny, let's bring up the, I guess, semi sort of reliable news, if you like, that's come out in the last 24 hours to do with a young signing. Again, obviously we talked about Toko Takai from the J League, but Jonny, Oliver Boast of Leeds United. Tell us a little bit about him and what we can expect if this one does go through.
I mean, I'm not sure, but I think he only turned 16 last month. Listen, he's behind. So don't get your hopes up, guys. Okay, don't get your hopes up. He ain't going to be playing in any. This is sort of PR. Look, I'm all for the fantastic idea to recruit the top talent throughout the whole of Europe and in the UK. It's something we haven't done. Fill your academy with incredible talent. All the clubs are doing it. Liverpool are doing it. Arsenal are doing it. Man City are doing it. We just lost a kid to Man City. We've bought a couple of players from Man City. It's the way to go, because with players costing 80, 70, 80 million pounds, if you can start to produce quality, it's not going to happen overnight, but we're starting to see some of these players just on the fringes now going out on loan, whether it's your Donnellys, your Josh Keeleys, your Mikey Moores, and the rest who are coming through. You need players like this. He's behind Harry Gray, who Spurs been looking to sign for quite a while. Leeds striker Archie Gray's brother. He's been playing like under 18 level at 15, which is quite an achievement. He was named in England under 16 squad last December, scoring his first goal in that camp. And he went on to make his debut for Leeds under 21s in April, still only age 15. And that progression, it's fantastic. A goal-laden campaign in the under 18s, and he got his first hat-trick back in April. So look, what can you say? Look, it's the level. He's outperforming his age group, and he's scoring at his level. Okay, at the level. Well, sorry, older level. But there's a huge jump between academy football and coming out to play the men's game. There are players that go straight in and can do it. We've seen them, but it's not easy jump. But if you keep recruiting these, and we've done a lot of these recently, then great. I mean, I see. I think it's Oliver Iro signed a new contract today, and we saw Casanova. He signed a new contract as a centre back, and we saw Ajay go out to Doncaster Rovers out on loan. Mm-hmm. So we've got a lot. We've got a lot of kids. I mean. Yeah. We bought Ashley Phillips, only £2 million, youngster. We bought Lancashire. They might not all be first team players in the years to come, but when you look at players, look at clubs like Arsenal, and you look at their failed players, right? Iwobi. I mean, you could get Nketiah. I mean, you look through the list, there's a whole list of players that Arsenal have sold at very young age that have got 30 million, 35 million, 25 million. And if they're not going to make it your club, at least they give you cash coming into the club, enabling you to increase your bank, your kitty, for transfers. I mean, Chelsea have done that for a number of years, spending big money, but offsetting them from players that have come through their academy. And always remember, if you sell a player that's come through your academy, your FFP and PSR rate, and you get a lot more leeway and a lot more allowance financially. So it's the way to go. It's the way to go. But in all honesty, no Spurs fan's going to be excited about the signing of a 16-year-old kid, no matter how good he is, because we all live in a world where we want it now. And a 16-year-old kid ain't going to give it to us now. not even a 20-year-old. So
no, I completely agree. I think this is more of an exciting signing for the ownership, right? For the guys upstairs that know that, you know, they're paying very little for something that may turn out to be, like you just explained, 20-30 million in the future. You know, it's a pretty safe gamble for them to essentially turn their money, well, little money into big money, right? So, you know, that's at the end of the day, that's essentially what the ownership is doing at the moment. And are these big players going to come in as well? Only time will tell, but I'm sure we're going to make 2 or 3 big signings. It just depends who they are and depends, you know, if it meets what the fan base are demanding, which is Eberechi Eze, really, a Kudus or a Semenyo, and then potentially a defensive or a number 6 as well. So I guess time will tell. Let's go through the chat a little bit more, guys. I appreciate all the comments coming through. Derek's saying same old Spurs, all talk and no action. Yeah, pretty much. But
we can't argue. Listen, can't argue with that, Derek. You know, we're chewing the cud over the kids, just giving you the facts on them. But you know, no one's fooled, mate. No one's fooled. You come out with a statement last week and you state we are ready to win. We want to win the Champions League. We want to win the Premier League. And then we get Matt Law just a few days ago up on Last Word on Spurs, turning around and saying Spurs don't have any money. They're not going to spend any. And then you see this come through, about Eze. It's going to send the mood. You know, we've gone Europa League win, incredible elation that night in Bilbao, the celebration at the parade, go up another level, then silence. Ange goes, Frank comes, back down again. He's actually not bad. I've seen the videos, back up again. Then the comments about the club, the thing, and it starts to skyrocket. And then, as usual, it goes all Spursy, and we hit a wall and start nosediving.
Johnny, have you been to Thorpe Park lately? It's like when we got that big feet one, and then just suddenly it all comes tumbling down, you know, vertically. That's basically the fan base's mood at the moment. I completely agree. Aaron's saying this is a good point. That's why I've kept it up. He's saying what also makes it harder with a new manager is the fact that Thomas Frank won't have one set style, so it's hard to look at player profiles. Johnny, what do you think on this? Because I was going to do a video on the tactics very soon, or a live stream actually this weekend. So guys, look out for that. Subscribe and hit the noti bell because that will come out tomorrow. But in terms of the tactics, you know, it's not like Angeball where it's a very rigid system, you know, one way or no way. It's very much, he's very fluid in the sense that he can change 2 or 3 formations in a game. So do you think that does affect the signings? Do you agree with what Aaron's saying here? Or do you think there is actually proper targets that Frank will look for?
I think what he won't try to do is he'll play the long game. And the long game is not coming in and revolutionise everything and just throw it all out the window. I think what he'll try to do, because don't forget, these players have been playing Ange ball for 2 years, right? So it's in their head. Imagine doing everything every single day for 2 years, listening and listening and listening and listening. When you run down the wing, your mind goes to that place, right? But unlike Ange, who used to sit on the sidelines and say nothing, Thomas Frank and Cochrane will be shouting instruction from the touchline, and they'll make it known before, during, and after, and won't be tied you if you don't follow instructions. But I think he will adapt rather than revolutionise, as I said. So what I mean by that is, I think both the wingers will push wide instead of inverting, and will look to overload the flanks. And he likes to play in triangles, different to Ange, but not a million miles. I don't see Dom Solanke coming back and dropping deep every 2 seconds. I expect him to maybe play, hopefully, more like an Iriola type. How Iriola played Solanke, more on the shoulder. But that 6 is going to be the thing for me. If you overload the flanks, you need a monster 6 sat in there to be intelligent enough to read the game and read those counter-attacking runs. I don't think he knows Spurs. When he plays them, he's not like Ange when he says, I'm not interested in the opposition. I do what we want to do. We worry about our game. He will look at every facet of Spurs play, the good, the bad, the ugly, how to exploit players' weaknesses, our defensive weaknesses. So I think he's going to come armed with quite a lot of information from the club. Say, for example, you've got a foreign manager that came in. He wouldn't really have the dossier that Frank's had playing in the Premier League for the last 4 years. And I think he'll have a quick idea of who he thinks he can adapt and who he can't. I mean, for me personally, I didn't want us to spend the money on Matthias Tell. I'd rather we spent that money on an Eze or the likes. But I actually think he will look to turn Tell into an Mbeumo. If you looked at Mbeumo going back three years ago, he had all the pace, he had the trickery, but his end product was absolute toilet, right? It was toilet. And what he's done, he's honed that finishing over and over and over again to the point where now he's a machine. And I do believe that, Matthias Tell, he will do that for Matthias Tell if he's given the time. I really do.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm actually excited for Tell. I know you said you weren't too keen for us to sign him, but since
not that he's bad, bad. It's just we need, I don't really want to wait another 2 years until he's 22 before he starts producing. That's the thing. I'm all for it. If we had a load of money and we were going to buy another 4 or 5 players, bring it on.
Yeah, I feel like with Matthias Tell, see a lot of the younger French players, they have very high ceilings, and obviously a lot of them don't make it that high. I always use the example of Anthony Martial because, kind of came into Manchester United with big expectations, really, came in. I remember him scoring that goal against Liverpool that was quite famous in their ends. And, he kind of was good for a couple seasons, wasn't he? And then it kind of tailed off. It got a bit toxic and they ended up getting rid of him after, quite a while, really. But could you see Tell sort of having a real breakthrough season this year, Johnny?
Well, I can. But
you're hoping it's going to be like Mbeumo, but you're not sure, basically.
No. He has undoubted skills, right? That was never a question for me. My question is, Ange, what's the bloody point, mate? You're not a hands-on coach. You're not on the training ground teaching him where to go. You're teaching him your philosophy, and that's not what I'm after. I'm after a coach who's on that training ground and improving players. And I know Thomas Frank over the last 4 years and before, when he was in the Championship with your Ollie Watkins and some of the other players that have come through his stewardship, have all improved. And I can see, Nathan Collins, for God's sake, Nathan Collins and Pinnock, centre-backs, right? I mean,
it's not exactly world beaters, is it?
No.
But he made them good players. He made them very good players.
Exactly my point. I mean, unfortunately, they've lost Rico Henry, who's, what a player he was. And that's what I'm saying. I'm looking to see like a Rico Henry type player through Destiny Udogie, hugging that touchline, picking up the ball wide and cutting inside, crossing the ball and unleashing shots. I mean, it was terrible last season. He created 1 assist all season. He's a far better player than that. And I think it's the system, Crowder. He needs space. But when you're inverting, you're running into like Piccadilly Circus every time you pick up the ball.
Yeah, that's true. So I was trying to find the name of you mentioned about Henry and how he was injured a lot last season, wasn't he? And then Thomas Frank played this other player at left back. I'm trying to find his name. Johnny, you might be able to get it. And he was unbelievable, even though he was more of a midfielder or a winger.
I know who you mean. Yamalak? No, not Yamalak.
It's literally all I need to do is look at one of the Brentford's lineups last season. But yeah, he was. My point is, it's not really about that particular player. It's the fact that Thomas Frank adapts players from potentially like one position to another. So I feel like we could almost see Brennan Johnson move from a right winger to almost a second forward when he changes things in games, almost playing next to Solanke. Could you see that as well?
Yeah, listen, I can see, look, he plays 2 strikers up front. He plays 5 at the back, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. He plays various systems, 2 up front. Anything's possible. Look, why didn't he sign Norgard? I mean, did he not sign Norgard? Like I said before, is it that sort of Alex Ferguson moment? You know, when you've worked with someone for so many years, you don't want to listen to them anymore. You've become sort of blind to it, and you need to move on and work with another person. That's why, you know, Ferguson got rid of, you know, David Beckham and Yap Stam and lots of other players who were still in their prime. But Haz is right. You know, what was the reason we didn't get Norgard for 10 million when we did need a 6? And he's gone to Arsenal.
I don't know. I have no idea. I've just remembered the name of the player, Keane Lewis Potter.
Yes. Really good player. Really good player.
I knew it was a double-barrel surname. I couldn't remember his full name. But anyway, I'm just going to go and catch up on the comments because, guys, even though this was a bit of an impromptu stream, appreciate the support. If you haven't done so already, smash a like on the video. Smash subscribe on SpursRelated. We're doing lots and lots of live streams coming up, lots of videos, some of them with Jonny as well. So also go and check out Jonny's channel, which I'll plug at the end as always. But that's Football Inc. I'm sure a lot of you already subbed to it. He goes live with Sean every single day talking all things football. But has Spurs saying we need established first-team players, not more young players like Tell. We got enough young players last summer. The transfer policy hasn't changed and will be the reason we will never win a Premier League, Champions League. I mean, not much to build on that, Jonny. I could see you nodding away. Derek's saying Levy's not going to spend money on players 25 plus if they have no sell-on value. And I feel like this is it. It's almost like, you know, even with an Mbeumo, who's, you know, not exactly a youngster anymore, is he? You know, it's like if we went for an Mbeumo,
he's 25.
Yeah, but what I mean is like I agree with Derek's point in the sense that it feels like the club very much look at younger signings that are going to be good for 5-6 years rather than a signing that will be more, but only has a sell by date of like 3 or 4 years, right? That seems to be how Spurs' policy has been for the last, well, God knows how long. Jonny, you tell me the last player we signed that was over 25 that ended up being good. Well, I can't remember many, to be honest.
No, listen, we got rid of Perisic. Oh, he's finished. Meanwhile, he hasn't stopped. He hasn't stopped smashing it.
Barcelona want to sign him, mate. Now,
correct.
Right?
Because Perisic, he was so world class. He never needed to beat his man. He could cross the ball from a standing position with his hands in his pockets, right?
Correct. Yeah.
That's how classy he was. You know, form is temporary, class is permanent. And there are players out there that sometimes you've got to pay the money for. I mean, you know, people laughing at Cristiano Ronaldo at 41 years of age. Yeah, but that's in Saudi. What does he do? He goes and contributes and scores to Portugal winning the Nations League.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, he's class. Yeah. And now he's earning about, you say Ronaldo, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he's earning, he's probably just earned, by the time I finish this sentence, about 500 grand on his new contract. But anyway, what was I going to say? Let's talk about, because this is the other couple of slides I had, Jonny, and it's not a Tottenham update if we don't talk about this player. Eberechi Eze. Obviously, we talked about him at the start, Jonny. We were talking about people having a meltdown. Just seen our views go from 50 to 1,000 people talking about Eze. You know, everyone loves it. But no, jokes aside, there hasn't really been an update on this other than, you know, the odd rumor on Twitter on a few from a few journalists that aren't exactly the most credible people. That Arsenal are now linked, and apparently he's an Arsenal fan. I'll add that as well. Yeah. Jonny, can we just sort of wrap things up in the sense that is Eze still Tottenham's prime target, do you think? And B, do you think we could see the absolute meltdown of the century if Eberechi Eze went to an Arsenal or another club?
100%. Look, Daniel Levy, this is a pivotal moment, a sliding doors moment, okay? Do you want to be the hero or do you want to be the villain? You decide. Decision's yours, you know? Never before that I can remember have the fan base been so united about the signing of one player. Normally, we should get this guy, we should get that guy. You mean, listen to Arsenal fans, we should get Gyökeres. No, we should get Sesko. No, we should get this one, right? you ask most Spurs fans, who is the number one player you want to sign? And the majority, I would say 80%, 75, 80% of fans will say Eberechi Eze. And that's because when you watch Eberechi Eze play, you could just picture him, close your eyes and picture him in a Spurs shirt. That languid style, the way he picks up the ball and drives forward, his strength on the ball, the fact that when you're, it's 0-0 against the low block and you can't score and nothing's happening, he picks up the ball in the D, drops his shoulder and bangs one into the bottom corner. That's what it is. He's a game changer. We haven't had one of those probably since Gareth Bale in that respect, who could do that sort of thing. And you watch, what he did in the FA Cup. He almost single-handedly, quarter-final, semi-final, final, dragged them to win that trophy. He's everything we want. He reminds me of sort of a bit of a Ginola in a sense, how he moves with the ball sometimes, but obviously not without the long flowing hair. He's got the dreads instead. But I think that this is a signing. If you're reading the room, Daniel, this is the one where you can say, Daniel gave us the trophy, finally, gave us the parade. We got a great manager. And now he's delivered, and he's back Frank with this signing of Eze. Otherwise, the narrative is same old Levy, won't pay the money, won't back the manager, and then he'll wonder why when Thomas Frank can't get higher than top 6, top 7, and doesn't win a trophy, he hasn't been backed. This is it. This is the moment. I'm not saying there are other players out there. I'm not saying Eze is the only player out in the football world, because we know he isn't, right? There's lots of fantastic players out there, but this guy's proven. And did you need a better audition than the game against
FA Cup final?
Us? Well, no, forget the FA Cup final. That was unbelievable. But what about when he came to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium towards the end of the year and absolutely dismantled us at a canter?
To be fair, though, about 22 teams absolutely dismantled us, mate. So
I know, but he dismantled us on his own, and you only have to watch the videos afterwards of kids, videoing, signing shirts. He stayed behind after. He's a class act, does a lot of work for charity. Thomas Frank said he doesn't like any dickheads, right? Eze's not a dickhead. You'll find him God-fearing. You'll find him doing charity work. He's a brand ambassador's dream. You're never going to find him rolled on in a street coming out of a bar, pissed out of his head. You're not going to see any of that, and that's what that's what you want. But who knows?
I've heard also that someone told me earlier that apparently Eze is actually on his honeymoon, so that might be why things aren't moving in terms of transfers. So I mean, that is probably quite a key point. But I don't think either way, Johnny, we're going to see any progress on any signing until at least next week, because of those financial fair play sort of turnovers, as you said, to do with the regulations and it being essentially a fresh start in July. So I don't think we're going to see much till next week. Do you?
No, not really. I think, look, we all want to have our players in for pre-season, but we shall see. We shall see what happens. Maddison is way better than Eze. That's a matter of opinion. Right now, Eze's in the England squad, and Maddison's on the outside licking windows, wishing he was in. So I think.
I'll be honest, what's the point, FC? I love your comments, mate, and I've always enjoyed reading them, but I do not agree with this one. I think Eze's a far better player than Maddison. He's more versatile. He can play on the left and he can play centrally. He's quicker. He's more agile. He's probably got a better shot on him at the moment. I think he's a better all-round player.
And he's bigger and he's stronger. Apart from all of those things, Maddison is better.
Anyway, I love opinions on this channel. That's what it's all. That's what it's all about.
Everyone's got one.
Yeah, boring if everyone's got the same opinion. Guys, I can see there's like 50-something people on YouTube and only about 13 likes. Smash as Sean Butler says, smash the granny
out of the like button.
I don't know where that one's come from. But anyway, smash a like on this video if you want to see more live streams with Jonny and myself and more videos on Spurs related. Please whack a little like on. It's free to do so. Subscribe as well. Hit the notification bell. Jonny, we're going for another, well, not many minutes, I know. But did you want to plug your channel in terms of what's going up on Football Inc? And then we'll do a couple more questions and wrap up.
So if you're in the chat, drop off to I'm sure you're putting James putting the link there to Football Inc. It's our new channel with Sean from Spurs Talk Show. Obviously on Spurs Talk Show a lot, but we felt like there was a room for a channel that spoke everything about football, VAR, finances, but all clubs, anything that's going on in the football world, controversy, whether it's Inter Milan making up 300 million of fake sponsorship deals, to some of the changes that are going on in football, the cheating, selling your ladies football team to meet FFP and PSR. So come and watch on that. And obviously we're doing the transfers every day, 1 hour every day, quick 1 hour, and we wrap through it.
Absolutely.
Thank you. There you go.
What's the point of saying where's the link? It's just there. If you're on phone, I think you can click. I'm just trying it now. Yeah, you can click straight through to it. One touch and you go straight onto it. So you already got one more subscriber there, Jonny, it looks like.
Thanks very much. Yeah, we're growing very quickly. We only started probably about 2.5 months ago, and we're getting around about 4,000 or 5,000 views on streams now, and it's going very, very well. So thanks for all the support. Appreciate it. 11 goals, that shit. He's playing for Crystal Palace. Right, you do realise that. And second of all, he was carrying an injury for 3 months that Glasner asked him to play through. But apart from that,
I can't.
Everyone, listen. Look, toxic. You're entitled to your opinion.
Yeah, no, exactly.
And that's what makes the world go round. But I think you'd be in the minority of not wanting him. Yeah,
I think, to be honest, I think you might be in the only 1% that don't want Eze. But everyone's entitled to an opinion, 100%, like you said, Jonny. There's a couple more. Where do people get the idea that Eze's an Arsenal fan, do you think, Jonny? Because I heard this as well.
Well,
wasn't he in the youth team at a very young age?
Yeah, there's actually a video of him.
Oh, okay.
Saying how gutted he was that he was dropped by Arsenal because he was an Arsenal fan. It's there. It's out there. It's out there in Twittersville. YouTubeville, go and have a look. You'll find it. It's him talking about that very thing. It's been a long time. I do believe that if Spurs had moved quickly for him, he'd be a Spurs player right now. No two ways about it. It's funny. I
remember doing a video on Eze about 2 or 3 years ago on this channel, analysing him then. And I mean, obviously he was a good player then, but he's just gone to new heights this season, really, hasn't he? He's probably he's near to his peak as he's going to get, probably. I mean, he'd probably get even better, but maybe under the right manager.
And why is that? I'll tell you why. Because he has a coach that, like Thomas Frank, is hands-on on the training ground, improving individual players. Look at Mateta. Mateta couldn't hit a barn door before Glasner got here. Now he's a goal machine. Ismail Sarr was horrendous. He had an incredible start to his career, fell off a cliff, and now look at him. Look at Adam Walton's, improvement, quick improvement over the last year that he's been at the club. And then you look at Eze, the positions he's taking now. Instead of picking up the ball wide, he seems to position himself now more inside the D. In which case, when someone's shifting, like Walton shifting a pass to him quickly, he only needs one touch from shifting it from his left to his right, whatever, to bang one into the bottom corner. That's the difference. Yeah, no,
100%. He's a player. He's a player that can make something happen out of nothing, and I don't feel like we have enough of those players that can make something happen out of nothing. Like you mentioned, Gareth Bale earlier in the stream. If you think about our squad, who makes something out of nothing in that team? Certainly not Brennan Johnson, as much as I like his goal return last season. Solanke's not exactly a Kane where he can drop deep and suddenly spray a pass and everything's unlocked. And tried to make him like that, but it wasn't like that at all. I'd say Bergval's probably up there in terms of what I've just mentioned. But other than that, if a Maddison's at his game, yes, he makes things happen. Yes, he makes things tick. But I feel like adding someone like an Eze will just make Spurs so much more creative and so much more exciting to watch. And obviously, it's not just about how we are on the eye. It's about creating chances. And I don't feel like we created enough last season under Ange, which is why we scored goals, but we didn't score enough. And we certainly didn't defend well. So
those two, you see, what people don't realise as well about football, it's not just about... when he picks up the ball, a lot of teams go twos up on him. Right? If you're going to go twos up on him and you're going to draw him into, when he makes those runs drifting in from the flanks, right? He's taking two players with him. He's creating space for others, or wherever he's pulling wide, he's creating space for the players like Maddison to exploit the runs that he makes that Maddison can feed into. And I think those two would link up extremely well together. I really do. I think, they'd be a fantastic partnership.
I think it wouldn't just be those two though. I think you could almost see. I think you could almost see Eze working well with Solanke and Johnson as well, because I think with Johnson we know he's not a one-on-one winger. He can't just suddenly skill past the player and beat him, but an Eze could, right? So if Eze can unlock doors and give Johnson, like you've just described, space at the back post, Solanke space in the 6-yard box, we're going to suddenly create more chances, score more goals, and have more luck. Have more fortune in games. And I think that's what we've been missing. It's like we kind of get forward, and I watched it so many times last season. I mean, Johnny, you go to more games than me. I'm sitting there thinking like, no one's unlocking these low block teams. No one's able to do something exciting that gets the fans off their seats. I just don't see it happening at the moment at Tottenham. And is that partly because of the tactics engine sort of gave? Yes. But I think also it's limited in the squad that we don't have those players that can, as I just said, make something happen out of nothing. It feels like very, very cagey, very much like you're playing against, playing a chess match. And football's become that to an extent. But I think Eze in an interview said he likes to get people off their seats. Exactly that. He likes to play exciting football. And that's what Spurs' heritage has all been about. Free-flowing attacking football, exciting to watch, and scoring goals. And we kind of lost that identity recently, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, look, I just think that, this is a player that is going to link with others. You think about the partnership he had with Elise on the flank there and the way they work together. And Thomas Frank, the first thing he will be doing is after he's viewed all of them is to start working on partnerships. He's a huge believer in partnerships. And we're not talking about striking partnerships. We're talking about the relationships between, your right back and your right winger, making the runs, understanding what's in a player's head, what's best for the player, utilising their best assets and coupling it with yours. And, I think you've seen, there's a clip actually, I think with Sade and Buemo, actually, that Sade's you're making your runs too early, and you got to do this and you got to do that, and they've improved it. And they were showing him, look, this is what you're doing, because they clip it all. This is not what I want you to do. You aren't liaising with him. You're working on your own. You're playing for yourself. You're not understanding your partner in this situation, in this section of the pitch, and understanding your teammates, understanding the type of balls that they can make. There's no point asking for someone to put a ball over the top if that isn't their strong point, right? So it's, I think, look, it's a long process. Rome weren't built in a day, but at least I feel happy that we've actually got a hands-on coach.
Yeah, no, completely agree. And I think he will form those connections within the dressing room naturally because he's a people's person, isn't he? He and so was Ange, to be fair, but tactically as well, in the sense that he'll make those players click. he'll make them fluid in games and adapt to situations when we're losing, where perhaps the right back turns into more of a right winger, and where the centre backs become slightly in a bit more of a different shape. The midfield changes, and when we're then defending as well, almost like coming to almost like a 5 at the back at times. We've seen him do it at Brentford. So I think that's going to be important for connections as well. Johnny, I thought I'd pick up on a point from...
I thought you were going to go toxic headshot. Toxic headshot. I got no idea where you could have possibly have got that name from. Right?
Yeah. Honestly. Listen. I've seen a couple of arguments in the chat, guys.
Yeah.
We can have debates just one thing about this channel. I always want it to be a friendly atmosphere. You guys can debate in the comments, no problem. But I'm obviously not bringing up people saying, swearing at each other in the comments, like people saying, fans are stupid. Just have debates, have talking points, but don't rip each other's head off. We're all Tottenham here at the end of the day. But Rimanshu's comment about Lange is a big problem. The year before we got Johan Lange, we signed players like Maddison, Van der Ven, Vicario, and after we signed him, we got Werner, Tell, Gray, Solanke. I like Solanke, so I'm not going on that one. What's your thoughts?
Well, they're not Papasar, 12 million, Destiny Dogi, 15 million, Romero, 45 million, Benton Core, 17 million, Kulu, 35 million.
Teacher. Lange, I don't even think
Fabio, Don Fabio, mate. You can call him Con Fabio. They can call him Con Fabio all they like. For me, he'll always be the Don because he's the guy that pulls it out the bag. When we signed Benton Core and Kulu, a lot of people turned their nose up right at the death. Who are these players? They can't even get a proper game for Juventus. Like we're trying to buy in a bargain. Those two players were definitely, part of the reason, a major part of the reason why we managed to get fourth that season.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. So, sorry, I'm trying to bring out comments that aren't just people sort of losing their head.
Toxic, definitely getting
toxic headshot. Tottenham Hotspur fans don't like facts about what the facts are. James Maddison over Doku looked like a player, and looked like a player like Eze. Anyway, I think some fans. I think that what I take from this is some fans, I think, rate James Maddison a lot more highly than perhaps others. I don't know where you sit on that, Johnny. About
like the player or his personality.
As a player, it's not Love Island. We're not talking about.
I know, but the postman always delivers, right? And he delivers in patches. Listen, I'm not ever going to say he's a bad player because he's definitely not. But there's a reason why he never made the England squad, guys. Not just with Tony, and not with Tuchel. Sorry.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, Maddison's probably for another episode because I think Maddison did great, especially in the in patches last season. In the sort of earlier stages in Europa League, I remember him doing very well. He obviously scored in the semi-final against Bodo Glimt, injured for the final. But Kevin's saying I would take Tony. I mean, one thing for sure, Kevin, is an attitude, potential attitude issue there. Second thing is we're going to have to find some kind of Saudi money for that because, I mean, at the moment, I'm pretty sure he's on about 400k a week. Is that right, Johnny? I mean, it's ridiculous.
Listen, he's on big money. And again, no dickheads.
Absolutely.
Number one, no dickheads. That rules out Garnacho.
Yeah. Garnacho. Oh, I don't want Garnacho. Christ. Don't even get me started on Garnacho. Right, I know we have to wrap up very soon. Yeah. So, last thing, as I always like to do in these live streams, before you all head off, there's like 70 or so watching on Facebook and YouTube, loving the support. Again, very random stream that I put up with about 20 minutes notice, as always. So, got to get better at that. But Johnny, as I said, please go and check out Johnny's channel. Football Inc. does daily streams every day. I've whacked the link into the comments. Here it is. I'm going to whack it in again. So please go and check out Football Inc. Jonny, thanks for your time. And guys, let me know in the comments below, the last question, who do you think our next signing is going to be? Because I asked last time, who's your top 3 signings? Who's the next signing coming through the door at Hotspur Way? Whack it in the comments below. Is it Eze? Is it a number 6? You can put number 6 if you don't want to put the player's name. I'm going to go, Jonny, what's your thoughts?
Probably Hamish McDougall from Hamilton Academical's youth team, under 12s. Probably. Listen, look, I mean, right now, I think we're going to have to get someone in to look after the kindergarten at the moment. There's so many kids there. Let me think.
While you're thinking, appreciate everyone subbing to Jonny's channel, Football Wing.
Thank you, guys.
A few of you guys have gone over there. Yeah, go and see his streams. And as I said, also, obviously, appreciate the sport and Spurs related recently. This is a real big comeback. I know people like to joke with me and say I have about 10 comebacks in the last 10 years, but this is a real one. So please subscribe to Spurs Related. There's about 80 of you watching now. Subscribe to Spurs Related. Like this video. There's about 20 likes and about probably 200 different people have jumped in here. So just whack a thumbs up. It takes you 2 seconds. And also put on those notification bells. Those little bells, also free to do so. It's 3 things to do. Sub to Football Wing, sub to Spurs Related.
Third signing. And I think Werner, if Werner was to come back for a reincarnation for the 3rd time, I think the meltdown on Eze will pair into insignificance compared to Werner even being seen on the training ground. Actually, you know,
what about Batman?
I'll tell you who he really liked, Thomas Frank, and he tried to sign him, but he didn't have the money. Was Serge Reguilon.
Yeah, crumbs.
Yeah. There you go.
Apparently, Werner's actually going to New York Red Bulls as per Fabrizio Romano last night. So there you go. He probably smashed it there.
He might need a few of them to get him going. A few Red Bulls.
He's on standby mode, I think.
Oh my God. I wouldn't even be sure he made the first team. I think we'll sign someone from France.
I think we're signing Eze, Jonny. I think we're doing it. I think it's going to come out. It's going to be some huge news next week. I'll clip this up now. It's going to be some huge news next week.
It's over, right?
What's that?
It's not over until it's over.
Yeah.
You know? Do you remember William signing for Spurs? 100% definitely signing for Spurs. And
getting a helicopter.
I go for a quick pee. Yeah, no problem. Jumped out the window, jumped in his agent's car and drove to Chelsea. There you go.
Morgan Gibbs-White. I don't think...
Good player.
Will Forest sell to us? Do they need to sell to us?
Well, they have sold to us, haven't they?
Yeah. Well, Johnson.
Their rejects.
Yeah, but he's one of their best players, surely.
Yeah.
So was Johnson there. But yeah, could happen. Let's hope there's a smokescreen signing, says Absolute. And there's so many good options this summer, especially with Lyon selling. We didn't even get into Lyon, Jonny. We didn't even get into the fact that they've been relegated to League Two.
Yeah, they've got some really, really good players. We know most of them. And they got, what's his name, that's on loan now. They're from Palmeiras, the Argentinian. Almada. Is it Almada? Yeah,
Almada. Yeah. Thiago Almada, yeah. So
I'd like Richard Rios. That's who I want from Palmeiras.
Ooh. What about Tyler Dibbling? I mean, there's so many options. Yeah, guys, I tell you what, if you're watching on repeat...
Go on.
No, go on.
I was going to say Tyler Dibbling, another one. You know, like Ferguson, he's 100 million. Then he's 60 million. Now you can't give him away. Tyler Dibbling, they want 75 million. He's already 75 million now. I'd like Douglas Luiz, right? 25 million, Monster 6, Prem proven from Juventus. I'd like Hincapié, guaranteed left centre back, left back. And then like some creative players. That's what we need.
Yeah. Guys, let's if you're watching on repeat, because I know a lot of you obviously watch live, but a lot of you watch on the repeat on offline. Whack in the comments below on this YouTube video who your dream signing is for the summer. And also let me know what you want to see on the channel next. But Tyler Dibbling, imagine 70 million going to Southampton on in a championship team. They can buy whoever they want for the championship. But anyway, guys, Jonny has to go. So do I. I really appreciate the support. Almost 100 live viewers across Facebook and YouTube. So I really appreciate the support. As I said, go and check out Football Wink. I've put the link in the chat a few times. Go and check out Jonny and Sean's channel. Subscribe to Spurs Related. And follow all our socials on Instagram. We post all the news, all the sources, etc. Like the video, comment. And guys, we will see you very soon for another video tomorrow on the Spurs Related channel.
Okay, hang on. Before he go, he said, before you go, can Jonny please try to say my name? I will sleep well. Rimanju Mukherjee.
There you go. Rimanju Mukherjee. Appreciate your support, mate. Appreciate the other people.
How did I do? Huh? Come on, tell me, how did I do before I go?
Yeah, oh, there you go. Jonny wants to know. Looks like we're live for another minute. Round table talk saying surely Decky and Bergwijn can put in a word with Zukov.
He'd probably tell us to Zukov, actually.
10 out of 10. That's done for me. Right, guys.
Great stuff. Thanks a lot.
Like the video, subscribe if you're new, subscribe to Football Wing, and we'll see you very soon for another video. Turn on those notey bells. And as always, remember, come on, you Spurs! Come on.